Artists, we're on campus of Deja Vu today, and I'll explain the reason why here in a second. It'll all be clear. I think it's a good venue to talk about what we will, but a little chilly, so if I shiver a bit, just forgive me. But I want to discuss, I think it's interesting in the world we live in, and to think about CrossFit and really what's happening. I think sometimes we get into this mentality for people, especially if you've never been to a CrossFit box, that you're just working out. And I think that's a very poor depiction and understanding of what really happens at a CrossFit box, or even when you do CrossFit, just in general, even if it's at home by yourself. But there's so many things happening, and one of my biggest struggles in the culture we live in now is the destructive verbalization of others that we have, and how we put each other down, don't believe in one another, and that's really why we're here today at Deja Vu, is to reestablish vision for other people's lives. And this is something at CrossFit that's really hard to put to words, because when you're trying to describe it to someone and invite them and say, hey, come work out with me, that's a small piece of it. And I believe that when you're doing CrossFit, you get mental victories, emotional victories, and then you also get an environment where people believe in you. So if you could imagine, like, just picture yourself at work, and you know the people talking behind your back, and they're not believing in what you're doing. And this may not be for everybody, but I would say probably a large percentage of our population experiences being put down with words. This happens in families. It might be your brother, even your dad, your parents, saying things, and they just don't believe in who you are and what the future for you could be. And I actually had a friend who had to work at Deja Vu before, and it'd be so sad to think that that's the end of somebody's life, where they just constantly have to sell themselves or perform in this way for the rest of their life. And she's married now, has a kid. Life is different, but to think that this was a horrible season, I don't know that that's the case. It was a reality that was lived out, and I think when people come into CrossFit, it's easy to say, well, you're overweight, you're always going to be overweight, or you're skinny, you'll never put on muscle. And these are things that people might have even told the person coming in, or you, like, you'll never be skinny, you'll never lose that fat. And I just don't think that's true, and I don't think we should ever have to succumb to that type of abuse verbally from others, but rather believe in one another. And that's something at CrossFit. So if you could close your eyes and almost imagine the opposite of being told that you'll never do something, or you'll never be somebody that you want, or the opposite of being a backlash that verbally, and not having all these destructive words talked to your face, and imagine the lack of care some people have, and how selfish they can be, always wanting to be the best. Now imagine the opposite of that, and that's something that I think at CrossFit people experience, is that they're loved. They're even almost like people want them to do better than themselves. And this is an environment where people want to see others succeed. We want to see the best for somebody, have a vision for their future that they might not even have for themselves. A friend of mine always says, you know, I want friends who believe in me more than I believe in myself. And I love that, because that's something that we value. And so even here, to look at these girls' lives and realize that there is so much that they can accomplish, because even in their work, they still have to be disciplined and have certain principles that they can apply to their life forever. They can have families, great families, in fact, in the future. They can have children. They can have a loving husband and stuff like that, where they're not just looked at as an object. And so I believe these things with my whole heart. I believe it's something that CrossFit allows, is that we can start believing in one another again. And so if you haven't ever had that experience, then I would consider going to a box, even if it's just for that. Maybe not the workout. You might be afraid of the workouts, but they'll scale you, modify the workout, make it easy for you. But to put yourself in an environment where you're loved, believed in, is so worth it, in my opinion. So I'd really like to slow down and not rush over this moment of meditation, because I think it matters. It's you think about poetry and what poetry does for us. It takes a concept that's very real to somebody, but sometimes is hard to put into words, and it gives us imagery, allows us to see and feel what that other person's feeling. And I think as we're talking about this, I really want you to slow down, take that time to meditate on this principle that think of those moments. If you need to close your eyes, close your eyes. Think about those moments when people have disbelief in who you are in your future, and they say things to you that actually proclaim or express that disbelief, and they say hurtful things like, you'll never do this in your life, you'll never amount to, and I've experienced this in my life. I've had family members and friends, and just the lack of understanding of what I'm holding dear in my heart and what I'd like to be, and then the reality of where I find myself right now. So take time, slow down, think about that. And then also think about those moments where people just don't care about you. You can tell they're selfish. You can tell they're only concerned about their interests and what they want to accomplish, and they're just trying to get their own, or even step over you to get that, and abuse you or use you in ways. And so think about those, but then what I want you to meditate on is the opposite. What would it feel like to not have that? What's the opposite of it, where someone actually believes in you and says words like, I know you can do this, and they see a future for you that's further beyond your current reality and in line with what your heart is hoping for in your future. And think about people who actually care about you, aren't concerned about their own interest alone, but want to see you succeed, and they even take time out of their moment and push into that and say, here, I'm going to help you succeed. And so as you're meditating on that, I really believe that you find that in a CrossFit community. There's people who want to see you do your best, they believe in your future, and they believe in the hopes of your heart. And so just take time, slow down, think about that, and if you haven't ever gone to a CrossFit box, I would do it just for that reason alone, honestly. And so if you've experienced that through a CrossFit box, share this video with friends. Comment, share your experience of what you felt at a box and how beneficial it's been to you emotionally, mentally, and physically as well. So thank you for watching. Share with your friends. Let them know that there is a place in this world where people care about you.